Well, internets, it seems that once again, the corporate journalists are cherry-picking information to push a false narrative. This time being the claim that Twitter is being run into the ground and they will go bankrupt any day now, and it will all be Elon Musk's fault, apparently. Spaceship Man bad. So it's time for another Gamerant, this time with some Mega Man X. You may or may not have seen various social media posts about this, how everyone seems to be claiming that Musk is destroying the platform, and as it turns out, it's entirely the result of just nonsensical propaganda. He's not actually destroying the platform, and by most respects, things are actually going pretty well. We know this claim is false because Twitter since Musk has, by most objective measures, actually been doing pretty darn good. It's admittedly hard to say for sure because it has only been about a month, but the numbers look promising and seem to indicate that the majority of people are satisfied with a more open Twitter. So basically this is just a case of journalists screaming that the sky is falling, apparently, because Spaceship Man bad. First off, a look at the site's statistics off SEMrush show an increase of about 7.5 million hits in the last month, with a noticeable little bump around the time Musk took the lead. Unique visitors are also up. Then further statistics of app downloads off Sensor Tower shows 6 million downloads in the last month. Further confirmed by Insider that downloads for the app surged after Musk ownership was finalized with an all-time daily high, apparently. According to Apptopia, daily downloads are up 28%, and the new all-time user high for Twitter was reached on November 6th with 245.4 million users for that day. Furthermore, the stock price of Twitter is also up, reaching the highest point for the year roughly 1 month after the takeover. Although I do have to point out that Twitter is a private and delisted company, so this isn't exactly the best measurement, but it does still show that the value of the property is still doing just fine, if not great. At the very least, these numbers prove one of the basic starting points of a business potential to do well. People are clearly interested in what Twitter has done. There's an increase in engagement rather than a decrease in engagement. And where there is an interest, there is opportunity. For comparison's sake, the new social media platform Tribal, which is built as basically a new hug box for people who don't like Twitter becoming more open, which can be seen in their mantra, "We are the kinder, smarter social network." If you couldn't tell, these people think they are better than you. Has only 40k downloads. So the people spurging out about the prospect of less political censorship in social media, something that anyone who claims to believe in democracy should be 100% for if they wish to maintain any level of ideological consistency, are clearly just a very vocal minority. Most people are actually perfectly fine with how Twitter is going right now, as all the most useful data points show that no one cares about them, and again, Twitter is overall doing just fine under the new leadership. That is, of course, when you look at the numbers from the perspective of whether or not most people are enjoying the changes. And there's really only one problem I could find that Twitter could be potentially facing, and that is advertising revenue, because there was a temporary boycott of some of the advertisers. They're basically just pulling out because of the drama, and they don't want to be associated with the drama. However, that doesn't necessarily need to be permanent, and you can always find new advertisers if the big dogs just don't want to play fair. And that actually is kind of a big deal though, so Twitter is losing some money from that, but it's not coming from what users want. Rather, it's just what the Cathedral elites want. They don't like the change of reducing the content moderation of Twitter. And so they're basically just throwing a temper tantrum. That's not really what most people want. That's just what a very small select few people who are up at the top are butthurt about. And what do they want? Well, they want to be worshipped by you and for you to blindly believe everything they say without question like a good little peasant. However, there is one big problem. Musk taking the blue checkmarks away from the Cathedral elite journalists and instead selling us to us, you know, the great unwashed masses, selling the blue checkmarks to us filthy peasants, is seen as a takeaway from their status. And less restrictions on free speech, of course, makes it harder for journos who think it's their right to tell people what to think. They clearly view this as an attack on their elitist identity. And if there is one thing the last decade has shown, mainstream journalists cannot handle criticism against them. And what do mainstream corporatist journalists do when they feel slighted? Well, they lash out and write incredibly stupid half-truths, complete with cherry-picking, lying by omission, and general sophistry. I'm just going to go over 3 of them now that I found to be the most outrageously dumb, but there are hundreds of these out there, unfortunately, and a lot of people are falling for their grift. And I would also like to add a little disclaimer here, though. I am not some blind Elon Musk fan. I'm very aware that he is a fallible man, and not every business decision he makes is made for the best. The reason I often end up defending him is because, for some strange reason, there is just something about Elon Musk that makes some of the most arrogant people on the planet seethe and froth at the mouth in irrational rage. I'm honestly not sure what it is. And because of that, whenever I'm refuting hack journalists or bread tubers or whoever, Elon Musk just somehow managed to organically manifest himself into the conversation. Anyways, here we go. So I will first start with this one from the Daily Beast, titled Elon Musk's Twitter fiasco is the twilight of the tech bro. Now, I'm not going to read the entirety of these articles, partially because they are long and partially because they are just including a lot of fluffy nonsense. I'll just go over the basic problems. She says, Musk has lost more than half of his workforce. Notice how the word lost is used instead of the more appropriate fired, in an attempt to make it sound like this wasn't an intentional action. Then she seethes over Twitter Blue. Okay, you are aware that Twitter Blue is in beta, and you can't even buy it unless you have iOS, which, by the way, Apple has pretty strict security standards already on top of that. The article continues its string of random subjective zings and insults, and most importantly of all, completely fails to mention or take into account any of the usage statistics and engagement stats I mentioned at the start of this video. Instead of talking about the ways Twitter is doing well and honestly addressing it, what this article does instead is starts talking about FTX boy Sam Bankman-Fried, who unlike Musk actually was involved in a huge crypto scandal. This is actually a form of psychological manipulation that you are seeing here that propagandists will occasionally do. They will take two people, one who arguably hasn't done anything wrong, and another who absolutely, very obviously has done something wrong, and report them both right next to each other as if they are both equally the same person and equally guilty. It's basically just a sophistry trick to make you not notice that they don't really have any evidence that the first guy did anything wrong, and are just hoping you will fall for the guilt by association. The article then continues to seethe about other random billionaires in an attempt to solidify this grift. Now, the next article I want to talk on is the Elon Musk's breaks his new toy, written by Leonard Pitts. Oh boy, if you ever read anything else written by this guy, you know you're in for a treat. The article immediately breaks into some pointless rhetoric by comparing Elon Musk to a 5-year-old breaking their toys on Christmas. It then goes on to, again, whine about the blue check marks. Are we noticing a pattern here? Yeah, these journalists aren't exactly concerned about the changes other than them losing their blue checkmark elite status. So that's the thing they complain about most, even though the vast majority of people could care less. And if anything, people are glad verification is going to be opened up and less gate-kept. Pitts also says something in here that isn't exactly true. He complains about the price of the blue check marks and how it's terrible because it's no longer free. Oh, it used to be free, now he's charging us for it. How horrible. The thing is, Twitter before Musk took over has been revealed to be selling the blue checkmarks long before it became a part of Twitter Blue. Considering how coveted having a checkmark was, this actually makes sense. The price some Twitter employees were selling them for was a lot higher than $8, so we are talking more like thousands of dollars. Some people apparently even paid $15 grand for these blue checkmarks. There's an article about this on the Epic Times where Musk confirmed this to be happening, which I will include in the description below. So to whine about it being opened up to the public as $8 is just flat out ridiculous. But hey, complaining that it costs money now could be an issue if any of these mainstream journals happen to be poor. And hey, maybe Mr. Pitts is generally unable to afford it. Oh look, he's a millionaire. So that's out the window. So this complaint about the cost of the checkmarks is very obviously not being made in good faith. And when you take that away from this article, the rest of the entire thing is just an opinionated seething and calling Musk a child and implying that Twitter is doomed without providing any real evidence for so. Which can in other words be summarized as and once again, does not mention or take into account any of the usage and engagement stats I mentioned at the start of this video. Another pattern. Now, last article I'll look at for this video, The Weird Sorrow of Losing Twitter, from Ajay Romano of Vox. Now, this one is actually the most ridiculous of them all. I could make an entire video on it alone. It first jumps right into saying that Twitter has lost too many employees to keep its vital services running. Okay, Earth to Vox, come in please. We would like to inform you that Twitter is in fact still running quite smoothly. Twitter has not really experienced any significant downtime at all. I double-checked Twitter's API status and there were no incidents reported in the last week or two. There have been reports by a very small number of users of some slowdowns and glitches, but they don't seem to be a wide-reaching problem. For the most part, vast majority of people are not having any trouble reaching or using Twitter. So this article is certainly not starting out well, just stating something that is arguably just outright false. Unless they want to say that Twitter is rhetorically dead, in which case, that's subjective, who cares? Go write about it on your blog, not Vox. Now, starting out with a false statement like this wouldn't be too bad if it was not for the fact that this opening statement sets the stage for the entire rest of the article. It goes into talking about Twitter in a post-mortem sense, about the emotional damage caused by the loss of online friendships, talking about Twitter past tense with phrases like, Twitter wasn't just a hell site, it was a hell home. And of course, seething about Gamergate. Yep, Journos still mad about that one, gotta include it. TLDR, the entire thing is about mourning the death of Twitter. Cool story, except for the tiny little problem that Twitter is not only still online, but is actually being visited by more people than before Musk took the lead. And yes, of course, the article, again like the others, does not mention any of the usage and engagement stats I mentioned at the start of this video. And that's pretty much where the issue of all these articles lies. We are once again seeing the pattern of where butthurt journalists don't like something and so they write tons of extremely biased opinion editorials while deliberately omitting any factual information that does not agree with their narrative. All of these journos have access to the same engagement stat trackers that I do. They could have easily checked them and addressed the reality that more people are using Twitter post-Musk than before, and they could have written fairly on the matter. But of course, like other times when these people get caught being corrupt and ridiculous, they never had any intention of reporting on the subject with any level of integrity. They were simply looking for reasons to dunk on Musk and dunk on Twitter. All of this perfectly showcases the problem with today's mainstream corporatist journalists. It's not that they don't understand that their job is to just report the facts and keep people informed. It's that they just don't seem to care. They view themselves as an elite clergy class who deserve to be seen as smarter and better than everyone else because they have been hired as a mainstream journalist. All hail the mainstream journos. So the conclusion here is what we are seeing is the divide between what the cathedral elites want and what regular everyday people want. If Twitter fails, it won't be because the changes Musk has made are disliked by everyday people, but rather because the changes are disliked by the greater media establishment, both corporatist journalists and large advertisement agencies alike. For instance, if every advertiser pulls out and Twitter gets banned from the Android and Apple app stores, then yes, Twitter actually will be in real danger of going under from that. But even if that were to happen, that wouldn't be because of what the people want. It's clearly not because of what normal everyday people want to use Twitter for. Most people, as the usage data suggests, are perfectly fine with the new and improved Twitter. So these partisan hack journos can write as many OPED or hit pieces that they want. All they are doing is once again proving to us that they don't really care about telling us the truth. Anyways, that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe and share and all that silly algorithm stuff. Till next time.